All right. What's next? Okay.
Question.
We're going to jump right in. So this session today is thinking about what we're calling essential elements of program planning. And obviously a big part of your role as ambassadors is to plan and facilitate programmings. And thank you all for completing that ambassador survey, which helped us to understand that this is still a need, a learning goal for us is to sort of build your capacity around what are those essential elements that make a program fun, meaningful, impactful. And so we've thought a little bit of those. So about those elements. So first activity is just close your eyes for a minute. Imagine you just attended an awesome event at your local library or museum or your farmer's market. Because that's a shout out to Branson, who posted about her farmer's market activity. What elements made the event successful? You don't have to be the one that planned the event, just you attended this awesome event. Why was it awesome? What made it awesome?
Multi-sensory. Things you can touch.
Multi-sensory, nice. Okay, and sorry, this was, and if you can't access Menti, you can put it in the chat or you can say it out loud as well. But I think most of you have the Menti going. Nice, multi-sensory.
What's Menti?
Sorry, go ahead.
What's Menti?
Menti is this polling website that we're using right now. If you go in the chat, Emma just put the link in the chat. You'll be able to answer this question.
I don't use Zoom very much, so.
Oh, no, that's okay. Do you see the chat?
Yep.
So if you click on that link, it'll take you to an external website, and then you can just type in your answers. There's going to be multiple questions in Menti tonight. So I would use those for, leave that tab open.
Okay.
All right, so let's see. Friendly speakers, hands-on experiences, multi-sensory, active learning. Everyone had fun, engaging for all ages, engaging, lots of good questions, passion for science, didn't have awkward what to do next moment. Oh, that's an interesting one.
Mm-hmm.
Can you go up? Did we miss some at the top, Emma?
I don't think so. Interactive activity.
Oh, I love this one. Clear event description, what to expect. Who wrote that? Who's seen these essential elements already? Friendly speakers, love this. An easy way to get started, no confused standing around, variety of participants and offerings, passion for science. Absolutely. Any last minute?
3, 2, multisensory.
Multisensory. Okay, awesome. I love all of these, and they're really model exactly what we're going to be talking about today, which are the essential elements of community-centered programs. Now, this is not a comprehensive list. There's lots of important things that make up community-centered programs around citizen science or participatory science. But this is what we've been thinking about, just based on what we heard, your needs, what we know from going out and facilitating projects and programs and activities. So we've distilled them into these 5 categories, and we're going to go through them quickly. I could probably spend an hour talking about, and we could be doing activities for each of these elements, but since we only have 45 minutes, I'm going to go through them quickly, but then we're going to put them into action. So starting with welcoming environment, let's go back to the Menti. What makes you feel welcome in a new environment?
And if you are already on Menti, it should have automatically changed, but I'll bring the QR code back up in case you need that. And it's the same link in the chat that I'll drop again. Same link. What makes you feel welcome?
It's a little bit tricky, right? There's like not one, maybe.
That was what I was thinking of. Smiling
perfect thing. Yeah, right. Okay, smiling faces. When folks talk to you as you arrive, snacks are also helpful. Smiling faces and people willing to help, being greeted and having something to do. Icebreakers, meeting people with the same interest, welcoming presenters, smiling, eye contact, someone engaging in a welcoming conversation so you don't have to overcome my anxiety of starting. Absolutely. So just being personable. It doesn't even have to, be about the thing that's happening. Some sort of structure for how to engage people, like a group activity, icebreaker, welcoming body language. I love all of these. Oh. Sorry. And then Rebecca's on twice, which is making, okay, there she goes.
No worries. I muted you, Rebecca. Sorry.
Okay, let's go back to the slide. You're all spot on with this. this is really setting the stage. Creating that welcoming environment is so important. In general, with these programs, if they're not welcoming, if they're not fun, if they're not meaningful, there's no point. They might even have a negative, effect on people's beliefs around science or, the library or the space that you're in. So this is essential. And there are some tips here. Again, this is not inclusive of everything. I'm sure you all have your very own ways of doing this, but here's just some. Number one, make people feel seen and heard. You all said this, great participants. I love using name tags. Name tags are a great way, and I love calling people by their name when I'm facilitating because it really makes people feel seen and heard. Acknowledging everyone's brilliance. Everyone there has something to offer and to share. Even though, you may be bringing in a subject matter expert, you might be the subject matter expert. It's important to acknowledge that everybody has something valuable to contribute and to share. And bringing those to the surface really makes people feel included. Obviously, reducing barriers, which you're all very good at across, physical barriers, technology. Establishing shared norms. This isn't always possible if it's more of like a drop-in event where people are coming up to your table or something. But if you're doing more of like a facilitated event, workshop, it's always great to start with like, what do you all want to get out of this? What are some ways that we can participate in this together? Like making it safe to ask questions, which is another huge one. I think we want to normalize curiosity and learning through trial and error, normalize making mistakes. So just a couple of tips. Any others that come to mind, feel free to throw them in the chat. We'd love to add them to this framework moving forward. Okay, next question. Sorry, go back. Oh yeah, what emotions come up when you are invited to an event and you're not sure why you're there?
Anxiety.
Mhm. Fight or flight?
Oh. Annoyance.
Annoyance, awkwardness, anger. Yeah. Confusion, anxiety, nervousness. Disrespect. Oh, I like that one. Yeah. Like you're wasting my time. Anxiety, confusion. Yeah, these are great. And these are not, as we can see, positive emotions, which is what brings us to our second essential element. Establishing a clear purpose. Some of you already mentioned this in your earlier when we were brainstorming what makes an event, what makes you feel like you've been to a good event. Understanding why you're there is essential, and that starts before the event, right? So through your marketing, and the best and sort of easiest way to do this is to have like one line that you yourself can easily say in terms of what this event is about. So if you have that in your back pocket, that sort of clear one sentence about what is the purpose of this event, repeated early, repeated often, shared in those marketing materials. Also starting with the why. I think that's another thing that we often overlook. People will get into what you're doing, which is great, but if they don't know why they're there, not just what they're there to do, the meaning overall is going to get lost. So again, thinking about the why it matters to your community, using everyday language. For example, we're collecting pollinator data. Instead of we're collecting pollinator data, which is pretty vague, we're helping protect the bees that pollinate our food and flowers. Right. So again, it's thinking about the why for that specific activity in your community. Why is light pollution? Why does that matter? Not just how to take a light meter, not just how to use a star chart, but why these things matter to your community. And then making the call to actions really simple and doable. So if you are participating in a project in that moment, what are those call to actions? Are you making an observation? Are you sharing a story? Really trying to be clear. And a lot of this takes some practice and maybe even writing things down. Use ChatGPT to distill, complex concepts into really clear everyday language if you need some examples of how to do this. But this is super critical and not always the easiest when it comes to these complex community-based science projects that have multiple steps and involve, that have more than one why. But talking through for yourself first is critical. Okay, next. This is similar, which is making it local and personal. That's the third essential element. It goes again back to making people feel welcomed and having and understanding the why. If it doesn't matter to the people that are attending, again, the knowledge isn't going to be sticky. We know that about brain science and about the science of learning. If it's not sticky, it's not, if it's not meaningful, it's not sticky. So how do you make it meaningful? It really does need to connect to what's happening in your local community, which goes back to talking to people. But even before planning your event, what is happening in your local, in your community that you can connect this citizen science project that you're intending to do with? Is it seasonal? Is it tied to summer coming up, or other seasonal phenology changes that are happening in your local area? Is it something culturally connected? Right. And that takes a little bit of digging and inviting people that are your local experts to help you plan the event as well. So sort of elevating the voices of the people that you think are going to be attending to see what they want. We have some surveys in the Ambassador Handbook that you can send out, just simple sort of like, what are you interested in? But a lot of times it just goes back to talking to people. And for libraries out there, ALA has a great set of resources for hosting community listening sessions to really bring in the community before you even start planning the event. Yeah, and then I love this question for making it personal. How will this make life better here? Either here in your heart, here in your person, or here in your community, or here in your own home, wherever here is for that person. Thinking about that and even asking that in the workshop is going to really elicit some interesting responses and get people to think about that why, going back to the purpose piece. Okay, next question here. Okay, what do you need in order to feel confident facilitating? So now think about your role as a facilitator, or what supports your confidence when trying something new?
Good preparation. That's a good one.
Good preparation.
Some of these might be things
Extensive
that you
planning.
can do.
Go ahead, Emma.
Yeah, sometimes these can be things that you can do for yourself, but also think about what we can do for you too. Like what are the external things and what are the internal things that you can do? Yeah.
Good resources, being prepared, knowledge of the subject, knowing the space and the environment, communication templates, great handouts, holding a clipboard can be helpful. Nice.
I love it.
Testing tech in advance. Oh my gosh, such an underrated. Nothing makes you feel more like an amateur than when you can't turn on the computer screen and then you're like, cool, I'm also supposed to be the one teaching you something today. I can't even turn on the computer screen. Although we're all used to that. When others see your point of view, I like that. So when you can maybe clearly communicate something. Resources that help me feel more confident and work to become somewhat of a subject matter, knowledgeable in that subject matter. I love all these, and I think a lot of these are going to be in the next slide, but there is a critical one missing. So, which it's curious that it hasn't. I'm curious as to why it hasn't come up or in thinking about that. Okay, so tips for becoming a confident and curious facilitator. So we had humble in there, we had listening facilitator. Curious is what we landed on because it's not just about being that authority in the room, but really being curious as to and cultivating and facilitating that knowledge. But here's some tips. So know your why. I think we went back to that, right? Have that one answer, that one sentence that you can return to. Set a positive tone early on. Again, we talked about that with the welcoming. There's some great icebreaker activities out there. Share a little about yourself. I always do this. I sort of break the ice, just again, talking about yourself, not at all related to what you're about to share. You know, I always mention my daughter or things like that. Just makes people see you as a real person. The fact that my daughter broke my glasses today, for example, and they're very crooked. So there you go. This one, okay, so these are sort of that didn't come up. Be prepared, but not scripted. right? I think a good facilitator is extremely flexible and good at improvisation. And that does come with feeling really prepared in the subject matter, but also embracing what you don't know and being confident to say, no idea. That's a really great question. You know, let's look at that together. Or I am not a subject matter expert in light pollution. I love this. I'm really interested in it. I want to support you all to do it, but let's learn together. I'm not like an authority on this, right? So it's that balance between being confident but not being sort of like pushing your knowledge on others, because that you're going to lose people, right? If you come off as sort of like the sage on the stage versus the guide on the side. I don't know if you've all heard that phrase before. But again, it's sort of like, how are you positioned in terms of power within your session? And a lot of that comes from practicing, reflecting, repeating. Nobody, a million times I've facilitated things and asked the wrong question that crickets, right? And you sort of go back and reflect, like, that probably wasn't the best question to ask. And so next time you ask it in a different way and see how people are responding. So part of that comes with a lot of practice. Michelle said, I don't know is a good answer because perhaps you could work as a group. Exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly. Knowing what you need to know, knowing what you need to, but knowing how to get the answer. Yes. Well, I have to say for my librarians in the group, this is where you all are really resourceful. You're great at saying, I don't know, let's find out together. You're knowledge gatherers in that way, or brokers of knowledge, facilitators of knowledge. So yeah, those are just some tips on being confident, but curious and flexible.
Next slide.
Oh yeah, sorry. Next slide. Okay, this one came up a lot in what you said early on, which is prioritizing hands-on and interactive learning. That's where you said multisensory, engaging. So as much as you can throw in activities where people are doing something and not just listening to something or watching something, the better. And this can come in a variety of formats. Obviously, I like starting the event with an activity just to break the ice so that it's not sort of a long intro. You're going to lose people, right? Like there's a great book. It's called Talk Like TED, like the TED, right? And it again, like it's like, how do you hook people in the first 5 minutes of your workshop? And a lot of that is by making it personal, doing something hands-on, like a provocative question or getting people to move, get up, and talk to each other. So as much as you can do that and like weave in the instructional pieces instead of sort of these big chunks. Sort of like what we're doing and modeling in this session. That's why we threw in the questions in between each of these sessions to really, we want to get your knowledge first, and then you can sort of distill it down. Creating activity stations is fun. Obviously encouraging collaboration, using the real tools and technology as much as you can, touch it, smell it, see it, manipulate it, the more memorable it's going to be. And then there's always some fun creative aspects, not just for kids, but adults, in terms of, reflecting on the knowledge that they're building, whether it's nature journaling or some kind of collaborative reflection piece, anything that's like other ways of expressing knowledge instead of just talking. So those are just some examples. The good thing about citizen science is that it is incredibly hands-on. It involves doing something. So the faster that you can get to the doing something part, the better. So, just thinking about that as you're planning your activities and your program. Okay, last question. What takes the fun out of an event or program?
And I'll drop the link in the chat again now that we've had a bunch of comments. Being talked at.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Know-it-alls. Yeah, that's like exhibit A of why you shouldn't have all the answers. Don't be a know-it-all. You don't have to know the answer. They could be trying to stump you. Silence. Weather. Weather. Oh.
It's very true. Some things are outside of our control.
Too technical, folks hogging in the microphone. Yeah, it is a skill and something to practice of being able to corral people instead of
Yes.
just be the um yeah, just be the leader who encourages all that conversation is great, but it's good to be able to corral and get people back to
Michael in the chat said being ignored as a speaker. Yeah, that's never fun when there's like side chatter. It's hard to hear. A lot of that again comes back to that beginning, like setting norms at the beginning, like folks hogging the microphone, people talking over each other. Some of those you can set at the beginning. There's some really great facilitation strategies for that, like keep your comments to 30 seconds or 1 minute or something. Silence is tough for sure. I mean, facilitating over Zoom for the past 4 years, it's even more painful on Zoom, I'll tell you that. Because it's just your face up there, like doo, 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 doo. But at the same time, the pausing, taking long pauses to allow people to think. I do let people, I do let silence linger longer than you would think. So there's sort of a balance. You don't want to like jump right in and be like, oh, never mind, I'll just tell you the question, giving some time to simmer, but that is challenging. Okay, let's go to the fun slide. Again, it all comes down to fun. If it's not fun, it's not worth it. Life's too short. Let's have fun. Let's make citizen science fun. And how do we do that? Gamify the experience. We heard at our citizen science celebration that Desari already did this with the cloud observer, right? You gamified it. That was a great way to make it fun and not just wrote the popping confetti. Yeah, I had fun choosing gifts for this, I will say, right? So I try to keep my work fun too. Adding creative elements, especially for kids, there's some great hands-on STEM activities that go along with these projects, making it unexpected and surprising and weird in a good way. That's always fun. Making it a celebration. So what can you do to acknowledge and celebrate and recognize the science that's happening? And then in the end, don't take yourself too seriously. Your program should be enjoyable. You should be relaxed and enjoying them as much as your participants. That always easier said than done. And what's the saying? Like, if you're not nervous, you don't care, or something like that. If like
a bit of anxiety is good.
anxiety is a privilege or something. I heard it recently, which is true. Like if being a little nervous means you care deeply about the program. But in the end of the day, it should be fun too. So keeping that in mind. So those were our tips. They were rapid. I know they were very rapid. But we're going to do an activity now to just really let these sink in. So we have 5 breakout rooms. There's 4 people per breakout room. And I'm going to put a link in the chat of the essential elements so that you have the reference. And on the second tab of this document is, sorry, what?
You drop it in the chat, I'll bring it up so we can.
Thank you. I'm lost the chat. Okay, here is the document. So once you get assigned to a breakout room, introduce yourselves very quickly, but then quickly pick a citizen science topic to focus on. It's not the main element of this activity, right? Like this is citizen science topic agnostic, but we need something to focus on. So pick a topic and then think about a program and just be specific. Just list things that you would do in your program to meet these essential elements and make them specific. Not just like, we'll be friendly. Like what exactly are you going to do? And it doesn't have to be long, but just think through some of these things. And then at the end of the 10 minutes that you'll have together, again, this is quick, rapid fire, just first things that come to mind. Then we're going to come back and have a few minutes to share out with each other. Does that make sense?
One more thing just to reiterate too, when you join your group, you just have to come up with what topic you want to cover. We gave some examples if you want to make an easy work of it instead of like arguing with each other over what topic. So air quality, light pollution, phenology, you don't even have to know the project it's connected to. If you do, that's great, but that's not necessarily a part of this per se. So just make sure that you pick something quickly at the very top.
Okay. All right, we will see you all. Let me open the breakout room, sorry.